Hello, my name is JP Holman. I am with Pacific Ag Insurance in California, in Hanford, California. I am Soroptimist International of America's insurance agent, and I'd like to go over basically some real basic stuff on the insurance program, frequently asked questions that we have. The goal of this is to have Soroptimist members be able to understand the club insurance and insurances, and then understand ways that we can manage risk. So I'll get into it, and we'll go from. Again, my name is JP Holman. I am the account executive and sales manager for Pacific Ag Insurance. I've been here since 2015. I created our nonprofit and commercial lines departments and manage those currently till today. I'm also the sales manager. I hold the CIC designation, which is Certified Insurance Counselor. And basically what that is, I've been trained in policy form by ISO, the body that writes the policy form, and tested on it to make sure that I know what it means, which is helpful in a claims situation. There's about 30,000 CICs nationally, and I am one of them. So today's objectives: an opportunity for club leaders and or club event chairs to submit questions on how to ensure your club's events and practices mitigate risk with SIA's insurance broker, me, JP Holman. Basically, it's a way that you can understand what are the calls that I get throughout the years that are the most common, and questions that are really the most common that we have that come up. So hopefully I can answer a lot of the questions that you may or may not already have. Insurance coverage. So really we have some basic things that really are the most common things that we have. We have event coverage, and then there's going to be three things to remember. Liquor liability, should you have liquor at your events? How does that coverage work? And then what does the underwriter want to see us do? D&O, which is directors and officers. Directors and officers. This is a really important one because this is where personally your personal assets need to be protected as an officer of a club. And crime policy insurance versus a bond, and then excess liability coverage. So I'm going to go into these things, and hopefully I can give you the best understanding of what it is. So event coverage, there's three things to remember. On our policy, what we were able to get from the underwriters was if it is a one-day event with fewer than 2,500 people, it is automatically included on the policy. So let's talk about what that means. A one-day event, a venue that wants you to start the day before, set up the day before, then you have the event, then break down the next day. That is a 3-day event, not a one-day event. That's a 3-day event. So it's important to understand that that's not a one-day event. A one-day event is you get there, you set up that day, fewer than 2,500 people are attending, and then you break down that day. That is a one-day event. That is automatically included on the policy as a covered event. When you have an event, though, we want to know about it. So you get a certificate of insurance, which is on the website. We'll get into where to find those, but then you will send those to us. When we get those, we're going to add that to our events spreadsheet. So let's pretend it's a 3-day event. You've let us know that it's going to happen. You send us in a certificate of insurance. You get a special event policy for that. We add it to the spreadsheet. When we have that spreadsheet, and if we send it into the underwriter then knows that that event is going to happen, and then manages to rate off of that, so they charge for that event. That event, if it's on our spreadsheet, is automatically covered the next year. So if it's a 3-day event, a week-long event, something like that, but we've already known about it, we already have a certificate of insurance for it, it's already been added to the program, and it will be automatically covered on the policy. Again, if it's more than one day and not on the spreadsheet, we need a special event policy. So you'll have a special event questionnaire that needs to be filled out and sent to us with enough time for us to get a quote and get insurance for it. Most likely it's going to be a different carrier than the current carrier we have have for the general liability for the clubs now, but that will let you know that it's there, and then the next year when you do the event, you won't need to do it because we'll have added it to the spreadsheet. I hope that when we do our live questions that people ask questions on this, because it'd be really great to clarify this, make life easier for you all and easier for us. The biggest question that I always get is, can we have a copy of the spreadsheet? And for that, you would have to contact headquarters and get their approval and see if they can send you a copy of the spreadsheet. We cannot send you a copy of the spreadsheet without headquarters approval, because technically headquarters is our client, not the individual club members or club officers. Mitigating risk. So obviously, insurance, the more claims that go through, the worse it is for everyone. And then understanding that the clubs share limits. We're going to get into this when we talk about excess too, but the primary policy has $1 million. All the clubs and regions in all of America share that $1 million limit. So if one club has $1 million claim, there's a 1 million per occurrence limit and a 2 million aggregate. So there's only a bucket of $1 million left over for the rest of the year. I can get into those details in the Q&A if you guys have those questions, but understand that the pool of money to cover is shared by all clubs and regions. So you want to confirm the event exposure. If you're doing an event with, say, liquor, and it's going to be one day, and it's going to be fewer than 2,500 people, those are the event exposures. How many people are going to be there? What are you going to do at the event? That's what we mean by confirm your event exposure. If you have vendors that are being hired or even volunteering for Soroptimist, we want to collect certificates of insurance from all vendors. And we would also like to be named as additionally insured. That means that those vendors are responsible for themselves, and we're not going to pick up their insurance for that event should something happen. Let's say you have a food vendor, they come out, you get a certificate of insurance for them, and we are named as additionally insured, and they give somebody food poisoning. Their insurance will be primary. We want their insurance to pay that claim, not ours. Same thing with liquor liability. If you're doing an event where it's at a hotel or a restaurant or somebody that normally would serve alcohol in their normal course of business, we want them and their liability to cover. So again, we want certificates of insurance naming us additionally insured, and that them have the exposure and not us. That's a great way to mitigate risk, is to transfer that risk to somebody else. If we are sent, we want to be tips trained, and it's actually a requirement from the underwriter that anyone serving alcohol is tips trained. So we have a link later on in the presentation that will give you the tips training. So now additional coverages that I see a lot of questions on. Directors and officers. Directors and officers is insurance that's voluntary for each club and region. It is reviewed quarterly by the underwriter. You can fill out your application and send it in, and then you'll get added to the policy. You can do it at any time through the year. We prefer that it be at the beginning of the policy period, but it really doesn't make a difference for us other than we want to make sure you have the coverage. Directors malpractice insurance for the directors and officers of a club and or region. So those people it is to defend your personal assets. Let me rephrase that. If you get sued for a professional decision you made, you chose not to get tips training, let's say, and a claim occurred, and someone went and said, hey, we are going to sue this club or region because of not making proper business decisions. It is a club malpractice, business malpractice. They can go after your personal assets. That is really important to understand. And directors and officers insurance will cover your personal assets. We have asked for this limit to be increased. It is a shared limit, again, between all clubs and regions, headquarters, but the actual underwriter would not increase the limit. So it's $1 million limit right now, and it's a shared limit. But we're going to keep on seeing if we can increase that limit. But that is what directors and officers insurance does. Crime insurance is another coverage that I think that all clubs and regions should have. I also think that you should have cyber insurance. But crime insurance is, should someone steal the money? Should someone steal an asset? And that accounts for club members, third parties, and it gives coverage for that. And that seems to be a pretty big exposure for clubs and regions. I've seen clubs in the past try and get a bond to handle crime insurance. And that is not what a bond is for. A bond is basically a loan that's guaranteeing that the money will be there. So if the club bonds itself, all that it's doing is saying, hey, if the club has money stolen from itself, it's going to pay itself back. So it's really just kind of a waste of money. And lots of times the bonds will exclude directors and officers from having coverage. So it really doesn't do much, in my opinion. Excess and umbrella coverages. The excess coverages that are there for Soroptimist clubs and regions is, again, a shared limit with the underlying. So it is not, each one does not have their own limit. And that's super important to understand because, again, if we have a claim situation, it might be where the club and or region is all sharing those limits. So if you go on the soroptimist.org, that link, that is going to give you the special event insurance questionnaire. It's also going to give you certificates of insurance that are already set and made out. All you have to do is put the name and the address of the certificate holder should they request a certificate from us. And that's pretty easy, and then send that in to us. When we get that certificate of insurance, we add that then to our spreadsheet, and that is what goes and makes it so that it's an automatic event that's covered for the next year. So you really need both of those things to add the event to the next year. Event dues. We know that Soroptimist is really an event-based organization. We work event to event to event to event, and that's why I'm really focusing on event coverages and how to get them covered properly. So event dues. Share contacts with your insurance broker to review insurance mandates. So if you have the contact things that are needed, please send that to us so we can make sure the insurance policy is covering, and or that we may go back and say, hey, we don't want this and this is the reason why. Confirm the extent of insurance coverage in place for all events. If you are unsure, we are here for assistance. So again, the same thing. You might have an event that requires $10 million of excess or $20 million of excess. So we need to make sure that we actually have the coverage right. They might say that they need primary non-contributory wording and a waiver of subrogation. So we need to confirm that the underwriter will give us that. Obtain certificates of insurance for all exhibitors and vendors, naming us and HQ as additionally insured for the event. Again, this is transferring the risk to the vendor. And I gave the example of the food vendor. We want them to be liable for what they're doing, not us. We don't have care, custody, or control of their business, so we don't want to provide them their insurance. Or we don't want to partake in their insurance. We don't want to have contributory negligence. We want to transfer that risk to them. Establish a contingency plan in correspondence with the event venue. This is a pretty tall order and really is kind of more for risk managers. If there's somebody in your organization that has this skill, then I think that this is something that is a good thing to do. It's not going to be your average person is going to be able to do this. But able to. If there's a claim, please notify us immediately or as soon as possible. If it happens on an event at Sunday at 6 a.m. in the morning on the East Coast, There's no underwriter that's awake at that time. There's no claims adjuster that's awake at that time. And I'm not awake at that time on the West Coast. I'm not. And I don't need a call at 3 in the morning saying you have a claim. I can't do anything with it. But let us know the next day, that Monday, the next business day. Let us know. The claim is not going to get settled in that instant anyway. So taking a little bit of time will be fine. Event don'ts. Please do not wait till the last minute to obtain certificates of insurance for an event. That is super, super important. You can make your own certificates of insurance. So if you feel that it's time, you need to do it last minute, that's fine, but it might not cover the way that it wants. Don't agree to provide certificate of insurance without the confirmation that the proper coverage is in place. Again, that's letting us know. Don't agree to blanket wording with a contract that obligates your club or region insurance to be primary. This will obligate Soroptimist International of America's club policy coverage to step in the event of the other party is at fault. So again, we want to transfer. So making the certificate, when you download the certificate, you just place the address right there. So it's the full name and address of the certificate holder. The phone number is not good. Only the name is not good. It does not do anything. We have to describe who the individual is, and it might have multiple names. So let's say you do an event at a Hilton and you put Hilton Hotels. That does not work. There's multiple Hilton Hotels. You need to put the address required by the certificate holder. There might be different names of things. So we need to make sure the certificate holders are filled out. One other thing I want to note is if you're getting a special event policy, we want to make sure that we get that with enough time to get insurance. So if it's a couple days before, that's really cutting it close. We may or may not be able to do it. If you know that it's going to happen months out and it's an event that's a new event, please send us that as soon as possible. So your Pacific Ag team, obviously there's me. I am the lead of the team. I set the strategy and I work with the team. You have Kaylin Aguida. She's your account manager. She works with me to procure your insurances. So we go to market, we talk to the underwriters, we negotiate pricing and try and get the pricing down as low as we can and work with the underwriters. If there's a claims situation, then we will work with the claims adjuster. We can't adjudicate claims, but we can help understand what's going on with the claim and if the claim is going to be covered. We can't tell you if there is coverage or not, though. And that is because claims adjusters will do that. Joanna Acosta, she's an account manager. She will assist with your certificates of insurance, special event questions and questionnaires, and also with your D&O applications and submitting those. So she is really there to help and she is your day-to-day, everyday person who is going to help you. If there are any questions, again, we have the 2 events that are coming up where it will be live Q&A. I invite all of you to come and participate in that, and I think that it'll be a great event. And I can go more in depth in your specific questions at that time. I know it's not live, so there's no real way to help here, but maintain those questions and then we can answer them there. If you're not able to get it and you have a burning question, you really need an answer, it's always okay to reach out via email or phone call. And when I can, I will respond to you. So I look forward to meeting with all of you then, and we'll go from there. Talk to you soon. Thank you.